Think about this carefully. An entire decade paying month after month, believing you were doing the right thing, keeping everything up to date, and solving the problem. But when you finally stopped to look at the real amount, you realized that almost nothing had changed. The balance seemed frozen in time, as if the payments had never existed. It was like trying to empty a leaky cup with your hands. You put in effort, dedicate time, follow exactly what they tell you to do. And still, the water level doesn't go down. And the most impressive thing is that this didn't happen due to lack of responsibility. It happened because many people grow up hearing that paying the minimum is enough, that this way you don't fall behind, that this way everything's fine. Only nobody explains that the minimum wasn't designed to help you get out of debt. It was created to keep you in it for as long as possible. That's why your $5,250 went away just in interest, without bringing any benefit, without reducing anything, without building anything, money that was lost along the way. And this discovery makes anyone stop and think, how many years of my life have I already given to interest without realizing it? How much of my effort simply evaporated? When this realization hits, it doesn't arrive slowly. It arrives like an alert, a silent shake, showing that there is a way out, but not through the path you've been following until now. It's as if, in this moment, something inside you awakens, pointing to a completely different direction, a direction where your money finally starts to work in your favor. Before talking about the rule, it's worth pausing to reflect. How many important changes in life began with something small? One step, one decision, a new habit that seemed insignificant at first. Sometimes we believe we need a big turnaround, a giant solution, something almost miraculous to get out of a financial problem. But most of the time, transformation is born from something so simple that it almost goes unnoticed. That's what happened here. The person in this story didn't find a secret formula, didn't need to earn more money, didn't depend on complicated tricks. They just discovered that if they added 5% more to the minimum payment, just that, the pace of the debt changed completely. 5%, an amount so small it even fits on tight days, so small that almost nobody pays attention. But it's exactly this type of choice that separates those who remain trapped for years from those who truly begin to get out of the hole. Because the secret was never about paying more because there's money left over. It's about paying more because you decide to change the movement. And when you do this, when you choose to pay just a little more, something important happens. For the first time, you stop feeding the interest and start touching what really matters, the principal amount of the debt. And that's when everything changes. It's the moment when the wheel starts to turn in your favor. This simple rule isn't about money, it's about awareness, about taking control, about realizing that sometimes the way out is exactly in what seemed too small to work. And it's incredible how such a minimal decision can open a completely new path. And if what you're hearing here is making sense to you, like this video now, this helps the message reach more people who perhaps are stuck in the same cycle without even realizing it. It's easy to believe that the problem is always the salary, that the reason the debt grows is earning too little, that if there were just a little more per month, everything would be solved. But this thinking hides a truth that's harsh and liberating at the same time. It's not the salary that traps most people, it's the cycle of paying only the minimum, the cycle of continuing to use the card because there's no other way, the cycle of looking at the bill and seeing the same amount as always, as if nothing had changed. It's a silent movement, almost automatic, that consumes years of someone's life without them noticing. It's like living on a wheel that spins slowly but never stops. And the most curious thing is that this cycle doesn't arise from lack of strength nor from irresponsibility. It arises from the idea that at least I'm paying, that this is already good, that this is what I can do. Only that when we pay only the minimum, what really happens is simple. The debt grows behind our effort. The interest gets bigger, and the principal amount stays there, stopped, intact, almost mocking us. This is where the reflection comes in strong. It's not how much you earn, it's how the system works when you enter the wrong cycle. Because this cycle doesn't ask for your opinion. It only asks that you continue paying little, continue using the card, continue believing there's no way out. And it's this silent belief that most traps people. The idea that the problem is the salary, when in reality, the problem is the path chosen without realizing it. When someone understands this, something important changes inside. Because for the first time, you realize you're not fighting against lack of money, but against a system that only works while you follow the same direction. And it's at this instant that the real possibility of change emerges. The first step always seems simple. When we decide to change, everything seems clearer, lighter, almost motivating. The problem is never the first month, it's the second. Because in the second month, the temptation appears. That voice saying, use this money for something else. Just this month won't make a difference. You deserve relief. And that's where many people go back to the old path without realizing it. But the difference in this story began exactly at this point. When the temptation appeared, instead of giving in, she took a deep breath and asked a simple and powerful question. Does this bring me closer to freedom or take me away from it? This question changed everything. Because discipline isn't about strength. Discipline is about direction. It's about remembering every month where you're going and why you started. And in that second month, instead of letting herself be carried away by impulse, she made the choice that almost nobody makes. She held firm, opted for freedom and not for momentary relief. And perhaps this is the most important reflection here. The real turnaround in financial life doesn't happen at the beginning when we're motivated. It happens when motivation passes and you still choose to continue. When you choose the future instead of impulse, progress instead of pause, the long path instead of the quick exit. There's a moment in the financial journey when something unexpected begins to happen. The system, which before seemed to pull you down, starts to work silently in your favor. When the debt starts to fall, the minimum payment also decreases. It's as if the bill said, "Ready? Now you can pay less." And that's where many people make a mistake. Because when the minimum gets smaller, most people think, great, there's some extra money for me. Nabbed. But those who really want to get out of debt look at it differently. She didn't see it as leftover money. She saw it as speed. Instead of paying the new minimum, which was lower, she continued paying the same amount as before. This made the extra money go directly to what really matters, the principle of the debt, the heart of the problem, the part that interest loves to attack. This is where the so-called reverse snowball is born. Instead of growing and crushing you, as happens when interest increases, it starts to spin in reverse, reducing the debt faster, month by month, almost without you noticing. And the more she paid, the faster the balance fell. And the more the balance fell, the smaller the minimum became. And the smaller the minimum became, the more advantage she had by continuing to pay the same amount. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't a higher salary. It was just a choice repeated with discipline. Not slowing down precisely when things start to improve. This is the point where many people free themselves and others go back to the old cycle without realizing it. The difference lies in continuing to advance even when the path starts to get easier. 6 months, half a turn of the calendar. Little time when we think of a whole life. But enough time to prove that small, consistent choices can create results that previously seemed impossible. For years, the debt had remained almost motionless, like a stone in the middle of the path. But now, after just a few months of discipline, it finally began to give way. The number was truly decreasing. You could see it, touch it, feel it, from $3,500 to $2,800. For the first time, the balance wasn't standing still, it was retreating. And this drop didn't just mean a financial difference, it represented something much bigger, concrete proof that the effort was paying off. Because nothing is more motivating than realizing with your own eyes that what you do works. The debt going down was like a silent message saying, "Continue, it's working." This is the kind of moment that changes a person's mind. It's not the end of the debt yet, but it's the point where the body feels relief and the mind feels hope. The moment when you realize you're not trapped. You were just following the wrong path before. And now, for the first time in many years, the road was beginning to open up. This was the moment when life tested her determination. Because whenever you decide to change, something unexpected appears, almost like a silent test asking, "Do you really want to continue?" The refrigerator broke. Used $250, an expense that nobody plans, nobody wants, and nobody can ignore. And the first solution that appears for almost everyone is always the same. Put it on the card. It's fast, it's simple, it solves it right away. But it also opens the door back to the cycle she was trying to abandon. And it was exactly here that the big difference happened. Instead of resorting to the card and losing months of progress, she decided to take a deep breath and look for other ways out, those that many people don't even consider because they require effort, detachment, and humility. First, she separated some clothes she no longer wore and sold them. Little by little, she gathered part of the amount. Then, she asked for a small loan without interest to complete the rest, something that didn't hurt the planning, didn't reignite the debt, and didn't give more strength to interest. It was laborious. It was uncomfortable. It took longer than swiping the card, but it preserved everything she had achieved up to that point. And it's important to reflect on this. Sometimes, maintaining progress requires exactly this type of difficult choice, the one that doesn't deliver immediate reward, but protects the future. This small decision, made in a moment of pressure, was worth more than all the previous payments, because it's at these times that financial freedom stops being an idea and becomes a real priority. And this choice made all the difference. 22 months, less than 2 years. What before seemed like an endless prison now had a finish line, and this time she managed to cross it. It was almost 2 years of discipline, difficult choices, and small victories that, added together, built a real transformation. And when the last payment arrived, something profound happened. The money was no longer going to interest. It was coming back to her. Looking at the numbers, the difference was almost shocking. Paying only the minimum, she would have given us $8,700 to the system, and would have still taken much longer to get rid of the debt. But with small, consistent decisions, she ended up paying $4,900 in total. This means she saved $3,850, money that would have disappeared without leaving any trace. And here, there's a powerful reflection. It's not just about paying off a debt. It's about understanding how small choices, repeated with firmness, can completely change the course of your financial life. Because this savings isn't just numbers, it's time, it's freedom. It's the feeling that for the first time in many years, money stopped slipping through your fingers. And when someone reaches this point, they realize something that should be taught from an early age. True wealth doesn't begin when you earn more. It begins when you stop losing to interest. Here's the part that many people have never heard, and that completely changes how you view debts. Many people think the solution is to refinance, or to consolidate everything in one place, or to look for a new bank, a new rate, a new promise. But in reality, none of these options solve the main problem, because all of them may reorganize the debt, but they don't eliminate what really devours people's money: compound interest working against you. Now, when someone decides to pay a little more each month, something happens that banks don't advertise, but that is extremely powerful. The extra payment goes directly to the principal, to the heart of the debt, to the part that makes interest grow like a silent monster. And when you reduce the principal, an entire mechanism transforms. Interest decreases. The calculation changes, the speed of the debt falls, and for the first time, you're no longer putting out fires. You're putting out the source of the fire. That's why this method seems too simple to work, but it works better than any pretty solution sold out there, because refinancing can give you a false sense of relief. It can lower the installment, it can make everything lighter, but in the end, you continue trapped in the same cycle. The difference appears when you touch the principal, when you decide to attack the part that nobody sees, but that decides your financial future. This is the turnaround that almost nobody notices, and that's why this small extra payment, that seemingly innocent 5%, is so much more powerful than any promise of a financial miracle. Because it doesn't disguise the problem, it solves it at the root. And in the end, there's a simple truth that needs to stay with you. Financial life changes the moment you decide to stop living on autopilot and start acting with awareness. Each small step you take, writing down an expense, rethinking a purchase, saying not today to what takes you away from your goals, builds a new foundation, firm, yours. And perhaps you won't see the result immediately. Perhaps it will seem too slow. But that's exactly how it works for those who are building something solid. So continue, calmly, firmly, courageously. Because when you least expect it, you'll look back and realize how much you've evolved. And that will be your greatest pride. If this video is helping you, share it with someone who also needs to hear this today. Because sometimes a simple change of perspective is all we need to start over.